Hey guys, this is Lisa, the purple haired mom, and welcome back to Small Business Tips Sunday. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to be talking about SBA Eidl loans, PPP round 2, and unemployment, everything that basically happened with the extension of the bill for the CARES Act. But before we do any of that, let's run my music and then we'll be back and get deep into the discussion. Hey guys, thank you for bearing with me for our intro. Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of things that kind of small businesses and owners of small businesses are running into because we just had everything extended out back in December, but a lot of things are taking forever to really actually beef up and start actually coming to fruition. So what are we talking about? So we're talking about SBA Eidl loans, which is the Economic Injury and Disaster Loan. We've got the PPP loans round 2, which is the Payment Protection Program. And then we've also got the extension of the unemployment benefits. So let's start with the SBA Eidl loans, because right now that is the one that is probably going to be the last to jumpstart in theory. With the Eidl loans, the extension was made for the loans to be accepted through December of 2021. So if you're a small business, they are going to be very diligent, as far as I know, as far as security measures this time, because the first round of Eidl loans was kind of a disaster. They were properly named. They were a disaster because they were defrauded a lot by a lot of large businesses, by people that claim they had businesses and had never had a business in their life, and just a lot of mishandling of a lot of different areas. Some of it was internal, some of it was just people being able to skate by and defraud the SBA. This time around, there's going to be a bit of a difference. I know that they said they're bringing back the grants. Now, the way the grants are supposed to be working, they have gone back and forth with this. So at first it was they were going to have a dedicated portal specifically for grants, because the way that this works, at least the way it worked last time, was you applied for a loan. Whether you qualified for the loan or not, you still were eligible for a grant. Now, there is a lot of toss up on whether or not the bill meant for it to be $10,000 in grants to each small business, or if it was supposed to be $10,000 up to $10,000, depending on how many employees you had. But there's a lot of people that are a little bit up in the air on that, because it kind of seems like the SBA kind of made up their own rules and decided that they weren't going to pay $10,000 per business. They were going to give $1,000 per employee. So that kind of left sole proprietors and one-person LLCs kind of screwed, because they don't really have employees. They might have some employees, but if you're a sole proprietor especially, you're pretty much you, because you are your business. So there's up and down about that. Now, what they're stating with these new grants is that originally it was going to be that you would get a new portal in, like there would be a new portal that you could actually go and do just the grant, because you can take the grant and not accept the loan, or you could take the grant and even if you didn't get approved for the loan, you still could get the grant. Now they're stating that it's going to be like an invite only type of thing, which is not boding well for a lot of businesses, because there is a little thing that SBA likes to do. They do tend to favor larger businesses, which is funny because they're supposed to be the Small Business Association. They're supposed to be on our side. But big business is where the money is. Big business, they like to give loans to big businesses because big businesses have a lot of revenue to pay back those loans quickly. Small businesses have ups and downs. So it's actually harder for us as small businesses to get anything through the SBA. And that kind of bothers a lot of people, because now we're wondering if this is going to be like a click invite. You know what I mean? Like you have to be part of the SBA click in order to get invited to get this new grant. I don't know what's going on with this little piece of hair here. I'm just going to tuck it in. I don't think it's going to work, but oh well. Now, the PPP is a completely different thing. The Payment Protection Plan goes through banks, like actual lenders. So you say you bank with Fifth Third or US Bank or whoever it is that you bank with for your business, you can actually go through them. And what they'll do is they'll take the information, pass it along to the SBA. The SBA goes, yes, they meet our qualifications, and tell them to go ahead and release the funds to the business. Now, PPP round 2 is going to be a little bit different. If you're doing a second round, okay, so this is the second PPP loan that you've gotten, they are requiring you to show a 25% drop in revenue from 2019 to 2020. Now, it does not mean you have to hurry up and do your taxes. If you are not prepared to be able to do your taxes, you should at least be able to do a Schedule C. Now, a Schedule C, basically you just sit down with your tax preparer and give them all your information, and they can actually prepare you a Schedule C to send in. You don't have to be ready to do your taxes yet, though, because a lot of people are not going to be ready to do their taxes right now because people are still wondering what the hell's going on with taxes. So with the payment protection program, you just need to be able to show that you had a 25% decrease, which if you had a business that suffered from COVID, this shouldn't be a problem. But please be careful, because there are some brokers, and they're not lenders, but they're brokers. They'll find you a lender. Some of these brokers do not have their websites updated for the payment protection plan round 2. If you had a round 1, then you should actually have gotten some kind of invite from the lender that you used last time. That has been happening a lot. They've been like it's like a preferred pick. Because you did business with them last time, they will go ahead and reach out to you like, hey, we're doing this again. We would like your business once again. And if you obviously have a personal bank that you deal with, then you want to be able to, go through that bank again. Now, like I said, some of these places, and I'm talking like Lendio, Fundera, Biz to Credit, Smart Biz, these places are not lenders. These places are brokers. They are people that are reaching out to lenders they work with to see if they want to work with you. Now, be careful, like I said, because a lot of their websites are not updated yet. So when you're putting in your information, you're actually putting in information for regular business funding. The difference between payment protection plan and regular business funding is that regular business funding will pull a credit report. The payment protection program is not based on credit, okay? It's based on revenue and your business, how long you've been in business, and what your injury is because of what's going on. If you had your credit report pulled, you're not applying for SBA, for the payment protection program. You're applying for something completely different. They're reaching out to their lenders for regular funding. So just be aware, pay attention to the website, pay attention to the application you're filling out. If it does not specifically say that it is for payment protection program, then you want to actually follow up with them by phone before you put your information in and ask them if there is a specific portal for payment protection program applications, that you are going to their applications and it's making them put in all types of credit information, or if you've already put it in and you've got a credit pull, call them. Ask them why they pulled your credit for a payment protection plan, because that's our payment protection program. That's not supposed to be pulled for a PPP loan. Okay, now, unemployment. Let me get comfortable for this one, because this is a hot horse shit mess, okay? So, back in December, the PUA and PEUC programs were supposed to end, okay? These programs were supposed to end on the 26th of December. They had all the paperwork finally approved, which if it had been signed by the 26th of December, everything would have just kind of flowed right into the next plan, in theory. I can't say 100% because nothing is 100% with unemployment. Now, because there was a delay by 1 day, I just shake my head at that, really, 1 day. Because there was a delay by 1 day, every state's system had to restart, which meant everything had to end and then had to be restarted as a new extension of the program. Instead of just rolling over, it ended. So technically on December 27th, that program no longer existed. So they had to restart the program. What happened? Well, for a lot of states, and I'm seeing, as far as I know, I don't communicate with a lot of people in other states as far as the unemployment, but I've heard a couple people grumbling here and there. But I know Ohio and California, because I actually do have unemployment through California, and my friend has unemployment through Ohio. And it is a mess. It is a hot, stinking, steamy mess. They have no clue what they're doing. They have, and I'm very disappointed in California, because at least with the PUA here in Ohio, they know why. Their system is ancient, okay? Their system is pretty much, if you opened it up, it's probably a gerbil or a hamster rolling on a wheel. They're not due for any type of upgrade to their system until 2022. So next year is when they're due for an upgrade. It goes on a schedule. They can't just say, well, we're having problems, can you upgrade it now? No, they can't. So they have a schedule on which their program is updated. So they have to wait till next year. What that did, though, is it has a super clog up. Plus, they just reduced the amount of people that were working for the unemployment office right before the pandemic happened, because the unemployment rate had been so low. They reduced the amount of workers. Kind of ironic. Unemployment's low, so make a bunch of unemployment workers unemployed. Sounds legit. So they reduced a lot of the workers, which meant when the pandemic hit, they were at minimum, like they were at bare minimum skeletal staff. They did not have the numbers to deal with what was coming towards them. It's just another thing that happens when our country is completely unprepared for something. They were not prepared. We have been living on this high horse of being a first world country and thinking nothing can ever happen to us. So we're not prepared when something does, which meant they had millions of claims coming in and did not have the ability to keep up with the claims. So there's people that are still waiting. They didn't really have time to do people's ID verifications. So some people weren't supposed to be getting unemployment and did anyway. So they've been trying to go back and forth and do ID verifications. And then with Ohio, there are 3 different programs. There's PEUC, there is PUA, and then there is regular unemployment. So they had these employees that they had like a third of the staff that were trying to handle all of this. So now what that did is they finally got more people in, but then you had not only the people that were continuing to make new claims, but you had the people that had already filed claims, and then you had the people that were waiting for back pay. So there's people as of today, January 2021, that are still waiting for back pay from March of last year. So they've been waiting for a year. That's ridiculous. But I mean, they're dealing with a computer system. A computer system that is overworked will just shut down. Now, as far as the system that I'm dealing with, the incompetence is large with this one. EDD has failed. Employment development, I don't even know what the actual, let me look. You know what, we're gonna look. I have my other computer over here. We're gonna look. It's the Employment Development Department is what California's unemployment office is called. The EDD has been very, very, very horrible at communicating with the clients that are on unemployment. They had if you've seen the news, if you've seen like news around the nation, California had a really big problem with fraud. And here's why. When they initially set up this PUA program, or they call it just disaster assistance or disaster unemployment, when they set this system up initially, they were asked by the DOL or the Dole or the Department of Labor to minimize the system so that people could actually get through the system quickly to do their applications. What they did was they broke down every security wall pretty much that had anything to do with any type of ID verification. So what happened was you had people that were filling out multiple applications for multiple people who didn't exist, were dead, didn't live there, stolen identities. They had several from people that were on death row in prisons, not just California prisons either. They found some in Florida prisons. And these people were able to collect benefits because there was no security system in place. So what happened was when the new system was about to come into play, the California EDD put a suspension on 1.4 million accounts. So we were already having trouble with who EDD deals with as far as debit cards. Like Ohio deals with US Bank, but US Bank has a lot of security measures in place because this is a big contract for them. They're not trying to screw this up because they have a contract through ODJFS, which is who handles Ohio unemployment. They have a contract with them through their child support, through unemployment, and I believe also through cash assistance. This is a big contract. They're not trying to screw this up. They do not want to fuck this up. But EDD has a contract with Bank of America. Bank of America is already a notorious bank for being shady. You will find a lot of people that have problems with Bank of America, and they are known, they have been sued so many times. I don't understand why they have a contract with them. But what Bank of America did is they set up when you get EDD benefits, unlike Ohio, you have the option to have everything deposited into your bank account. So you can have it deposited into your regular bank account that you have and you use every day. No need for a debit card because you have your own account. EDD does not do that. You have to get it deposited onto the Bank of America EDD card. And then if you want it into your bank account, you have to log on to the EDD Bank of America debit card website and schedule for everything to be transferred to your bank account from there. Here's the problem. At some point during the year, EDD and Bank of America started having a lot of issues. Bank of America's debit card that they gave to all of the people on EDD is some of the worst security and some of the easiest cards to duplicate, to clone, and to steal. They don't have any security measures in place for these cards. There's no chip. There's no nothing. So all these people ended up with money stolen from their cards. And they were able to report the theft and they were told they were getting their cards replaced. Well, Bank of America was not returning the funds. They were stating, well, we don't know if this was you or not. Even if the person is here, like in California, and the charge happened in another country or like way across the US, and they have proof that they have never been there, they didn't want to give the funds back. So EDD has been battling back and forth because EDD was telling everybody, well, it's US Bank's problem. You have to talk to them. US Bank was pointing the finger back at EDD, saying that it was EDD's fault and people needed to talk to them. So this has been going on since before the suspicion of ID and all of that. So that's one issue that's been going on. And then you have this ID verification issue. So around New Year's Eve, what people noticed is that the last week of EDD, which was the last week, was the week of the 26th, was the last week that most people were able to actually certify. It pops up. They do their bi-weekly. They don't do weekly. They do a bi-weekly certification. So the last week, obviously, of the program, they only sent you 1 week because you, at that point, weren't available for the next week. So they sent the one to certify. You certified for that week and it sat in pending. A lot of people didn't understand why it was sitting in pending. Normally it would be pending and then paid the next day. It wasn't like that. It was still pending the next day. So around 12/31, literally on New Year's Eve, everything started shutting. People started getting these messages in their inboxes that they were actually, I can read. I'm actually going to do this for you. I'm going to warn you, this might be a longer video than normal just because of the fact that this is such a widespread problem. It's necessary to really go into a lot of detail because there's stuff that people don't understand. There's a lot of stuff that people don't understand. And it sucks because there's no communication with EDD and with the people that are relying on them for the benefits that they're supposed to have. So, oh wow, now their site's not working. How freaking funny is that? Their site was down on Friday for maintenance, okay, for maintenance, which is normal. It does happen, but they didn't pop up when it was supposed to, and it was down for 2 days, and they still didn't do anything. So from 12/31 to 1/2, everybody, 1.4 million people got this message. You have been receiving unemployment benefits, but we have temporarily suspended your claim because it may be held tied to fraudulent activity. You will receive further instruction from the EDD beginning January 6th. Now, a day or two later, like when it was starting to approach the 6th, because this was received by me on the 2nd. A lot of people received it around the 1st and 2nd, like I said, 31st, 1st, 2nd of, December into January. So a couple days later, the 6th was rounding up. Nobody had gotten any information. So then they went in and changed this and said, oh, you'll get it on the 8th. You'll start getting information on the 8th. What they didn't tell us was that they were going to be doing a whole new identity verification. A lot of us, on December 31st, got a little link in my portal to upload documents, which I did. And then all of a sudden, after the 8th, they announced that they were using this program called ID.me. ID.me is a third party who does that. All they do is identity verifications. They do these for the BMV. They're used majority in California. They're used for the DMV. They're used for a lot of different companies that it's required for them to verify people's IDs all the time. So they partnered with them, and it became a shit show because it was their programming with ID.me. It was supposed to send links out to everybody who needed to. Well, half the people didn't get them. First, they were told, oh, well, you don't have an ID problem. Then it was, oh, wait, yes, you do. Just download this link. So you had to put up your documents, and then you had to turn around and you had to send them to ID.me. ID.me would then turn around and they would verify you by your driver's license, which had to be, it could not be expired. It had to be valid, could not be expired. And they would do a facial selfie. Now, if you were not in good lighting, or if there was something wrong with your address or what have you, you'd get an error and be told you needed to speak with a verified referee. Normally, this would not be a problem. But what happened with these referees is that people started seeing their hold times go up to 5 hours. So you had people sitting in front of a computer or sitting in front of a phone for 5 hours just waiting for somebody to pick up the other end and verify you are you. There was one woman reported in a news broadcast that waited over 18 hours. It started winding down to like 5 to 6 minutes. And as soon as it got down to like 4 minutes, it jumped back up to 5 hours. It's ridiculous. Now, the EDD was requiring these ID verification to be done within 10 days of getting the notification. Problem was people weren't able to get through. Not only that, but you can't get through to people that are at the EDD because when you call, you get this wonderful message of, there are too many calls for us to handle. Please try again later. This is where we're at. So everybody was really hoping. They still had us certifying for weeks. So as of Friday, I had 3 weeks that were pending because I'd certified for them, but they had not switched them to paid. 3 weeks pending. So we were told that January 24th was going to be this magical day when things would be fixed, everybody would know what was going on, and we would start getting some kind of movement. Because most of us have not had any type of payment since the end of, or since the beginning of December. There's some people that have been waiting longer than that because the EDD hired a bunch of people who were not answering the phones. They were audited by the government and found out that 75% of their extra people that they hired were not even answering phones. So nobody was getting helped. The EDD has failed miserably. They also went through several different leaderships. In February of 2021, there was a lady that was put in as the director of the EDD. By December 2020, she stated she was resigning. This is not a coincidence. So as of today, today is January 24th. Today is this miraculous day that everybody was supposed to be waiting for. So when we saw that they were doing a system maintenance update Friday night, everybody got really excited. They're like, finally, because the 24th is coming up and they told us everything was going to get taken care of. We're going to finally get taken care of. So it went down at Friday, and it was supposed to go down Friday at 8 p.m. and be back up at, I believe, 8 a.m. Saturday morning, which is normal. 8 a.m. Saturday morning, people went to go check, and the system maintenance thing was still there. Nobody could access their accounts. Then it changed to 12 p.m. Saturday, then to 2 p.m. Saturday, then to 6 p.m. Saturday, then turned around and said that it would be 8 a.m. Sunday. Sunday is the day everybody certifies. So everybody started panicking, and it was like, okay, we're just going to chill. It's going to be okay. They're going to go ahead and they're going to get us taken care of. Everything will be good. So when everything came back up this morning, everybody started logging in as you do, and nothing had changed. They did all this maintenance. Nothing had changed. So the only thing that had changed was that you could certify for weeks. And now people like me, I went from having 3 pending weeks to now I have 5 pending weeks. Nothing paid, no explanation, because when you call them, they state, oh, we have too many things to handle. We can't answer you right now. When you get a rep on the phone, they're at the point where they start making things up. In 2 days, I talked to 4 different reps. I was on hold for a really long time, and it took me forever to get through. The first rep told me that I had an ID verified, which I had twice. I have confirmed ID verification since 1/9. She said, oh, well, I don't know what to tell you, and hung up. The second one told me that told me that I was waiting for a letter, that he could see this in my inbox, that there was a letter coming to me, and it was going to have some magic code on it that I needed to put into the system once I got the letter, and that it would unlock me within minutes. Now they've got magical numbers on magical letters, which is funny because I did have an inbox. He told me that it had been mailed out on January 14th. I did have something for January 14th. Notice of unemployment account preferences change. When I asked them to send my 1099 by email instead of paper mail. This is where they're at, guys. These are the people that are making money and dealing with our accounts. The third person I talked to, I think had probably gotten to the point where he had just lost his mind. At first, he seemed like he really wanted to help. But when I started speaking to him and trying to tell him what the issue was, he started jumping over me and jumping over me and jumping over me. And he put me on hold for like 15 minutes and then came back and was like, yeah, so you should be able to do your certification on the 24th. I was like, that's not what I asked. That wasn't even close to what I asked. Oh, well, what did you ask? I want to know why my pending has not changed to paid. He puts me on hold for another 15 minutes, comes back and says, oh, it's your ID. I said, but I have already done my ID. And then he'd start telling me about how I must be trying to get him fired. Do I want to take his job? I'm just a horrible person, and hangs up the phone. Now, the last person I talked to made the most sense. She was actually very kind. She was very diligent. She did put me on hold for a long time, but I know why she put me on hold, because she had to reach out to a supervisor, because she, at this point, she said, I don't understand why you're still pending. I see your ID has been verified. I see all this has happened. Let me find out. There's a note on here that I don't know about. So she saw a code in my account and said, I don't know what this is. She had to go to somebody and ask them what this was. Come to find out that they're coding accounts with things, but not telling the reps who are answering the phones about what all these codes mean. She said it was called a UI code. Okay, a UI code is it's an unemployment insurance code. But basically, she said that a bunch of people got this code because of the fact that when the program ended, they had a balance. So the computer was like, well, why are they still on unemployment if it program ended? So it was supposed to go to the back office to get released along with the ID verifications. That did not happen. But these were also, we were told that these were going to fall off within 5 to 7 days. I spoke with her on the 20th. And when I said, is it supposed to fall off within 5 to 7 days of me talking to you? She said, no, it was supposed to fall off within 5 to 7 days of it being put on. This code was put on the 11th. It is now the 24th, and I still don't have payment. So they're really screwing up. I sent them a notice, because you can communicate with them through your portal and send them a question. I sent them a question back on the 20th. Every other time I've sent them a question, I've had a response within 24 to 48 hours. It's been 4 days and I haven't heard anything from them. So there's a big problem going on down at the EDD that they do not want to tell us. There's a whole lot more than what we think is going on. So this is my suggestion. If you have not done it yet, reach out to your assembly person. Reach out to whoever your area senator is. Reach out to everybody. Let the assembly members know what's going on and they're not happy. Make sure that you get in contact with them and let them know what's going on. Make sure you let them know what your issue is, because they will start hammering down on them. They have already started calling them, showing up there. They've been doing random audits of the EDD because of everything that's going on, because they know that there's something going on that they're hiding. And there's no communication with us. They're on Twitter constantly. Whoever's running that Twitter account, they're on their ball. Every day there's a new tweet on there. But when we start asking questions, they don't allow messages through the EDD Twitter. They don't allow messages. They don't allow messages through the EDD Facebook. You cannot communicate with them on there. Once all this happened, they shut all those messages down. So basically, at this point, we just need to be obnoxious and make them tell us what's going on. We deserve this money. So that's kind of what's going on in the shit show that is small business and unemployment. Please, if you don't know who your assembly person is, you can actually go on Google and look up my local rep, California. There's a site that you can go to, put in your address, and it'll tell you who your local assembly person is and who your local rep is. And they are already aware of what's going on. So as soon as you tell them what you're calling for, they have already got things ready to go. So this has been a very long Small Business Tip Sunday, and I will talk to you guys again on Thursday with our Thirsty Thursday. Hopefully I will not be late and I won't have any technical difficulties. But thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate your time, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your weekend.